first living creature is Brahma himself, and from him were created sages like Marichi, who in their turn created Kashyapa Muni and others. And Kashyapa Muni and Manus created different demigods and human beings. But there is none among them who is not attracted by the spell of Maya in the form of woman. Throughout the entire material world, beginning from Brahma down to the small, insignificant creatures like the ant, everyone is attracted by sex life. That is the basic principle of this material world. Lord Brahma, being attracted by his daughter, is a vivid example that no one is exempt from the sexual attraction to woman. Woman therefore, is a wonderful creation of Maya to keep the conditioned soul in shackles. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So, except for Naranarayana Rishi, who is an incarnation of Narayana, none is immune to the attraction of Maya, the form of a woman. This is a basic principle of this material world. One cannot counter it because that is the way it is created. Every living entity, in fact, Prabhupada is saying everyone, even insignificant creatures like ant, everyone is attracted by sex life. This is the basic principle of material world. So how this is managed by the material energy, by Maya, can also be deciphered. But deciphering that, how this illusion happens, does not again guarantee that one will not fall into that illusion. Except for those who are positively absorbed in the transcendental service of, as we discussed yesterday in the purport, transcendental service of Madana Mohana, no one can curb the dictates of Madana Cupid. Unless there is the beginning of such immunity to attraction is the understanding that these attractions are eternally existing in the spiritual world. And self-realization is not about destroying this attraction, because this attraction cannot be destroyed. This attraction is there in the spiritual world. Spiritual world is full of attractive things, attractive males, attractive females. What can immunize a living entity from these attractions or seeking enjoyment of these attracted objects, subjects, is to become attracted to Madana Mohana, who is infinitely attractive. It is only by comparison. You may see so many attractive things in the spiritual world, but you never forget the attraction of the Supreme Lord. You never forget that compared to the attraction of the Supreme Lord, there is a difference between the Jiva and the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is unlimitedly attractive. So, the spiritual world is full of attractive things, and we don't try to enjoy those attractive things, because the most attractive among the attractive things in the spiritual world is Krishna. and everybody is Krishna conscious. So in this principle of the higher taste, even at that level, even at this level, in this world also, it is only by a higher taste we can give up this lower taste. So this illusory taste is created in this material world. It's a DNA of our chitta, material contaminated consciousness, to get attracted to opposite sex. If you take the identity of false ego of a male, then you get attracted to female. If you take the identity of your contaminated consciousness, take the identity of a female, then you get attracted to male. This is a principle of keeping the living entity within this material rasa. Because the living entity is rasa seeking. So that is why this is called the shackle, which ties down the living entity into this material world. Impersonalists, they try to say that, let us say, women itself is non-existent, womanly form is non-existent, womanly rasa is non-existence, it is all illusion. But Bhagavata philosophy, it says, no, the Supreme Lord is beautiful, the Lord has got unlimited rasas with his unlimited devotees. Lakshmi sahasrasata sambrama sevyamanam govindam adipurusham tamuham bhajami. Sahasra, thousands and thousands of Lakshmis are serving Narayana. Gopis are serving Krishna. In the material world, because these rasas are entangling us and shackling us and tying us down into this material world, that is why there is a negative connotation with these rasas. But those who have accepted Krishna is the enjoyer of everything, that primary consciousness, if we cultivate, which is what in Bhakti Yoga we cultivate, then one does not fear rasas. One fears material rasas always, because they are illusory rasas that deprive you of your real rasas. So freedom from material rasa is a precondition to enjoy bhakti rasa. If we don't feed our hearts with Krishna rasa, bhakti rasa, then Maya will easily trap us. One may wonder, what is the bhakti rasa that as a neophyte I can have? As a sadhaka, what I can have? So many. One can have. The only difference between a neophyte and an advanced devotee is that advanced devotee is able to be steady, whereas a neophyte devotee needs a daily prop to keep him in bhakti rasa. And that's what we do through our sadhana. And if we are strong in our sadhana, then even though it may not be a consciously tasting bhakti rasa, but actually depth of the heart, there is an energy of satisfaction that goes into the living entity, that he does not seek material rasas. So this principle of higher rasa is already operating even in a new devotee, even in a sadhaka. That is why he is not running into the material world after success. He is not running into the material world for making money, for enjoying life, for making it in life. No. How can young devotees who have got good degrees, everything in the material world, why they come here and they are satisfied? They don't even look that side. Even devotees themselves may not know why I am doing this. The answer is, soul is so deep inside, and the stuff that you are getting here is transcendental stuff. You yourself do not know. It is penetrating and going and satisfying your heart. Just like a hungry man, when he eats, he'll feel his hunger is satisfied. And therefore, he does not go and try to eat anything and everything. He doesn't go and try to eat everything. Isn't it? The reason is because he is satisfied. So there is some, not 100% satisfaction, but there is satisfaction. Therefore, that satisfaction can be maintained on a day-to-day basis by associating with Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, deities, and so many other activities which are non-different from Krishna. We are touching all those things. So we are touching transcendence in a regulated manner. That's called Vaidhi Bhakti. In a regulated manner, we are, in other words, as a rule we are following, and the end result is that we are touching Krishna every day. From morning to evening, we are touching Krishna, touching the transcendence, which keeps us away from Maya. So it is the principle of merciful association that is given by the Lord Himself in different forms that keeps a devotee free from Maya, free from illusion. Isolated, left to himself, as it is mentioned here, nobody can, among all kinds of living entities begotten by Brahma, namely men, demigods, animals, none but the sage Narayana is immune to the attraction of Maya in the form of a woman. Just like somebody was saying that, see, this Sabarimala issue, if Ayyappa is God, he is a Sita Prajna, why should he bother about, women not going? That was a question that was raised by some people. So he really should not bother. You are making him an ordinary person. If he is God, then anybody, young girls, and why he should get attracted? The answer is right here. Answer is in the Bhagavatam. Among all kinds of living entities begotten by Brahma, namely men, demigods, and animals, none but the sage Narayana is immune to the attraction of Maya in the form of a woman. So he knows, Ayyappa knows that. Therefore he said, look, I want to sit in tapasya and Vishnu. You don't, my wish is that they should not come to me at all. What do the Supreme Court judges know? They say gender equality is such a... People with no spiritual knowledge can do all kinds of disturbance in the society. They don't know that in a temple a deity is a person. So he has his wishes. If let's say I sit in my house and I put a board, entry to women banned, can somebody go to the Supreme Court and say gender equality? Men only are allowed in his house, women are not allowed. They will never pass they will not take up the case. Why? Because they treat my wish. It is his wish here. Similarly, they don't know Ayappa deity is a person. So if he has wished that, then they don't know that he's wishing. They think it is something, and the issue is between men and women. But the issue is between men, women, and deity. The deity is the one who is saying that, no, I don't want any of you to come. So these spiritual, ignorance of the spiritual principles and taking only these mundane principles create so much havoc in the society. Can gender equality be an end in itself? No. It has a context for gender equality, equality of opportunities but subject to, so many other things. Any principle like this, gender equality or anything, you take it to the extreme, as that is the only principle, you will see that it will lead to absurd situations. Absurd situations. So many people are intellectuals thinking, writing. They say there should be gender equality. There should not be ladies and gents toilets separate. You extreme. Principle is same, no? So outside all public toilets, these women should be doing, protest. So madness. Material nature has unity and diversity. Male, female, they're all human beings. That is unity. At the same time, the body has got diversity. You appreciate diversity. So gender equality cannot be at the cost of killing the material diversity that God has created. You have to respect diversity and you have to respect unity. We are all spirit souls, neither male nor female. Spiritual unity. With material diversities. So this is not a small thing that only, people who are only some people get attracted to the sexual attraction. Sexual attraction means, first of all, sexual attraction means it's a range of rasa. From gross rasa to final control rasa to so many rasas, finer rasas of perverted. When something is very complicated only, you cannot deal with it so easily. A small living entity cannot deal with it. It is so complicated. Just like if I give you a bundle of thread, all interconnected, and ask you to separate those threads, it becomes a very difficult job. One gets tied to the other, one gets tied. For eternally you'll going on doing. So in the same way, to figure out the jnanic part of this maya, this illusion called women, the mind can go on untying the knots, but you'll never free yourself. Why? Because it is designed to create more and more knots. It's designed to. So humility of a Vaishnava means he respects, one of the qualities of humility of a Vaishnava is he respects Krishna's design. And he understands, this is not for me. I don't have to tackle it. This is meant for conditioned souls. So somehow I have to, this is a hook meant for conditioned souls, not for me. I have no task, I have no project, I have no goal to get over the attraction of opposite sex. This is not my goal. My goal is to get attracted to Krishna. My goal is, when I get attracted to Krishna and Krishna Rasa, this is not a goal at all. The Mayavadis, impersonalists, they are all focusing on this, and so much of difficulty they have to get over this attraction. Devotee doesn't even bother because he is positively engaged in service of the Lord. Under the instructions of Guru, he is very careful, of course, fearful of Maya. But he is not, in the name of being fearful of Maya, 24 hours he is not thinking of Maya. When you fear something, you go on thinking of that, isn't it? So that is not. Wherever circumstances, situations are required, then he is fearful. And he does not put himself in a situation where he has to fear always. That means he does not put himself in a situation of association with the opposite sex, where he has to fear always. Then it becomes a disturbance to bhakti. Here and then in the material world, we manage our association, and here and then if we have to associate, that is all right. You are afraid of, you are fearful of the attraction. And then you engage in devotion service. So this attraction to sex, Vaishnava deals with it at a very macroscopic level, not at a microscopic level. Daiviyesha gunamai mama maya dhuritya mameve prapadyante mayametam tarantite. By surrendering to Krishna, knowing that this is Krishna's, Maya is Krishna's servant, by changing my attitude of enjoyment, that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Sometimes this principle that Krishna is a supreme enjoyer is not properly understood. Prabhupada says in one purport that Krishna is a Purusha. Everybody else is enjoyed, and he is enjoyer. When we say enjoyer, we tend to think that the enjoyed does not have any enjoyment. The enjoyed also has an enjoyment of being enjoyed. Enjoyer has got the enjoyment of being the enjoyer. Ultimately, enjoyer and the enjoyed enjoy together. So enjoyment is not absent from our life. Enjoyment is not absent from, as we said, we always say, Jiva is rasa seeking. What rasa we are seeking? Our constitutional rasa seeking is to enjoy giving pleasure to Krishna. Enjoy seeing that Guru and Krishna is pleased. That we relish, that is our original taste which we have to awaken. When we are covered now with the material world, we do not taste, we taste only enjoyer taste. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, if I have intention that I want to enjoy, for that purpose I know that if I please Guru and Krishna, then I will be enjoyed. If in that mood I want to serve the Lord, and what is the condition? If in that mood I want to serve the Lord and Guru, and which type of the condition it is like that?
Whether that is right. That is not the highest, but that is also right. From our parampara, we are giving even a highest thing, that even 1 second, pure devotee means he doesn't think of his enjoyment. Enjoyment is given to him by Krishna. I don't give pleasure to Krishna because by that I will get pleasure. So this is a transactional thinking. It's not love. Love means without expectation, you should please the object of love. So this is a contaminated understanding of, enjoyment by giving service to the enjoyment. But when we talk about jnana, when you analyze it, yes, it's a fact that by giving enjoyment to Krishna, you get enjoyment. It is a fact. But whether you have that intention, that is rasa. You cannot have that. That is against bhakti rasa. When you talk philosophy, yes, your real way of enjoying is by giving enjoyment. But if you try to enjoy, you give enjoyment to get enjoyment, then that is not love. So there are two different things, principle and then rasa. When we engage in bhakti, actual devotion service, we don't think that I will get something and therefore I am doing it. At the same time, one can constantly anticipate undefined mercy from the Lord. So not about enjoyment. All I want knowledge, I want power to exist. Like in principles of surrender, I am maintained by Him, I am protected by Him. So to feel that, I am taken care of by Krishna. These are all nice transcendental sentiments. But when you act, if you think that by acting by that, He will take care of me. That should not be there. It should not be connected like that. To constantly anticipate the mercy of the Lord. Mercy means not specific mercy. I did this, now Krishna should give me this. No. I cannot exist without Krishna giving me anything. Everything that I have is given by Krishna only. That is accepted. But I want to serve Krishna. I don't even want to take service from Krishna. Krishna's material energies, spiritual energies, all will serve the devotee. That's a different matter. But the devotee himself, a pure devotee himself, doesn't want Krishna to serve him. So when that is the thinking, then how? Material energies will take care of all those things. There is external energy in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is internal energy. So internal energy is taking care of everything for the Lord and the devotees. Krishna only receives. That is how the devotee should think. I should only give him pleasure. Any other question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, in the verse it was mentioned about Narayana Rishi being immune to the illusory energy of the Lord in the form of women. So is it specific to Narayana Rishi, or is it the category of pure devotees who all come under the same,
No,
like we see about Narada Muni, how he took care of Prahlada's mother when she was pregnant, although it is something which is not recommended for any sannyasi. It's like that we see the category of Haridas Thakur. So is it same as for all pure devotees? Or Prabhupada taking care of or initiating women Matajis?
Anybody, see, if you take the verse, Srishta Srishta Srishteshu, among all living entities who are created by Brahma, anybody who has transcended their created being, which is the body, mind, chitta. They will not get affected. So it is the system that gets attracted. And the system with the living entity who is not transcended. If he is fully transcended, then it will not affect. But Narnara Rishi had special capacity where he used to bring forth beautiful women from his body. Where is the question of him getting affected? In the 11th canto, the description is there. So, that is a separate thing that anybody who is just like Haridas Thakur could resist. Anybody who is in the positive rasa, and nobody can remain in the transcendent beyond the creative trigunas unless he is established in Krishna. If he is established in Krishna, then it will not. To demonstrate those principles, only Haridas Thakur's Leela is all there. Why it is there?
Yes. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, in the creation, the variety is there. And talking about these varieties in creation, according to Yukta Vairagya principle, everything can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. But still, I just wanted to ask, is there one object can be used in more number of ways in service of Krishna, and then another object, talking about the variety of existence? How
Example?
should I? Of course, you gave the example of pure devotee. He can use everything. Prabhupada says that even a missile can be used in service of Krishna. But it depends on our own purification, that we can use anything also, but at the same time, how much developed we are in our consciousness.
Yes. It depends upon our immunity from three modes of material nature. How much immune we are. So, certain kinds of Yukta Vairagya requires greater immunity. It depends on even person to person. According to Guna Kala Karma, I may not be immune to certain environment. So I had to be very careful in engaging the principle of Yukta Vairagya as a neophyte. I should keep away from that. And pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, for them all circumstances, anything and everything can be engaged in service of Krishna in Yukta Vairagya. So we had to be very careful. In the name of Yukta Vairagya, we should not ourselves drown into Maya.
So on pure devotional stage, everything can be engaged in Krishna service, and that variety that is existing, it does not have an effect, like one object can be engaged more?
No, it does not have any effect.
Does not.
Does not have any effect.
Okay.
As the Prabhupada said, if you are all Krishna conscious, we can take over the world in 18 days. Prabhupada, me alone becoming Krishna conscious is not enough. You all have to become Krishna conscious, you can take over the world.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
That's why in 18 days he didn't take over the world.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, you mentioned that when one identifies with a male body, he gets attracted to a woman.
When one
When one identifies with a male body,
identifies with a male body,
he gets attracted to women. So, in case of homosexual men, they identify with the male body but still get attracted to men. Why is that so?
see, you have to understand one principle, even in homosexual relationships or lesbian relationship or any relationship, one takes the role of a Prakriti and one other takes take of a Purusha. Then only there is a relationship. That's why they were getting married, no? Why lesbians get married? Why homosexuals get married? Because there is a difference in nature of their mind. There is the one who is dominant and the other will be less dominant or will be surrendered. So this marriage means, of course now everything is topsy-turvy. Actual marriage rasa, conjugal rasa means surrendered and receiving surrender. That is why it said highest Maya it is. Because surrender is a principle in the spiritual world. So surrender rasa, one receives surrender rasa and the other surrenders. Other receives, takes the rasa of giving surrender. Taking surrender is all playing with surrender. Conjugal rasa means playing with surrender. Surrender game. One is giving surrender, another is taking surrender. So, the mentality of somebody who is controlling, you'll see that in these two people, there will be one who is controlling nature, other is, submissive, agree to be controlled. Among homosexuals also you will find this. You can pinpoint among them, one is this, one is that. So ultimately same thing. The rasa imitation is there. Due to some short circuit in Kali Yuga, all short circuited mind bodies, a female mind gets into a male body. Male body gets into a female mind. Like that, there's a topsy-turvy, so there is a short circuit. So that is why it is said it's a short circuit thing. It's not normal. For in human civilization, it's not normal. But nowadays we cannot tell that. Because ordinary human beings are also not human beings. There's no use, criticizing homosexual marriage and all these things. What about all the normal marriages? Are they happening as per principles of self-realization? No. So if you criticize homosexual relationship in modern day, that means you are indirectly saying that other relationship is all fine. You criticize altogether, no, everything is Maya. Or nothing is going according to Varnashrama, nothing is going according to Krishna's system in Kali Yuga. Everything is short-circuited. So why I particularly talk about this? This is a devotees is seeing this truth. We are interested in devotion service. We are interested in jivas entering and accepting devotional service. Okay? जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय.